Antarctica is the quietest and coldest continent on Earth. Yet beneath that silence lies a force capable of reshaping the entire world. It is here that more than 90% of the planet's ice is stored, stacked in layers several kilometers thick, covering a landmass as large as Europe. For millions of years, this ice has acted as a stabilizer of Earth's climate, keeping temperatures balanced and maintaining sea levels. But one monumental question remains. What would truly happen if all the ice in Antarctica were to melt? If that occurred, the most dramatic and immediate change would be an extreme rise in global sea levels. Scientists estimate that if every sheet of Antarctic ice melted, the world's oceans would rise by around 58 meters. This is not just a number, it is a transformation powerful enough to erase most coastal cities across the globe. Jakarta, Bangkok, Singapore, Shanghai, Tokyo, London, New York, Buenos Aires. These cities would not simply be at risk of flooding, they would disappear beneath the ocean entirely. Entire island nations would vanish, and the coastlines of every continent would be redrawn. More than 2 billion people living in coastal regions would be forced to relocate, triggering the largest human migration in history. The next impact would strike the ocean currents that regulate Earth's temperature and weather. Antarctica plays a vital role in the global thermohaline circulation, a massive system of ocean currents that moves heat throughout the planet. The extremely cold, dense seawater around Antarctica sinks and drives these currents. If the ice were to melt completely, an enormous amount of fresh water would pour into the oceans. Disrupting this delicate mechanism, ocean currents could slow down, change direction, or even collapse. As a result, global weather patterns would descend into chaos. Regions that have mild climates could suddenly experience extreme cold, while others would endure relentless heat. Rainfall patterns would shift unpredictably, seasons would lose stability, and storms would grow more intense. Climate as humans know it today would no longer follow the same familiar rhythm. The melting of Antarctica's ice would also devastate unique ecosystems that have evolved for millions of years. Penguins, seals, whales, and thousands of smaller species depend on the ice for hunting, breeding, and survival. Without it, their habitats collapse. Penguin populations would plummet, seals would lose the platforms they rely on, and food chains in the Southern Ocean would fall apart. This collapse would spread throughout the world. Fish populations would decline, coral reefs would suffer further damage, and global food security would be threatened. Countries dependent on the sea for food would face severe shortages. Economically, the losses would be unimaginable. Major cities, international ports, fishing industries, global trade hubs, and millions of hectares of farmland would vanish beneath the rising water infrastructure, worth trillions of dollars would be lost. The massive displacement of people would place enormous pressure on social systems, economies, and political structures. Nations with higher elevations would struggle to accommodate the influx of climate refugees, leading to competition over resources, territorial disputes, and new forms of international tension. A world that once built its economic foundations along coastlines would be forced to rebuild civilization from the ground up. This leads to a crucial question. Is such a scenario actually possible? Theoretically, yes. But it would require thousands to tens of thousands of years of continuous global warming and extreme temperature increases. Still, what matters most is that the early stages of this process are already happening. Parts of the Antarctic ice sheet are shrinking every year. Although the scale of melting is nowhere near total collapse, the effects are already visible. Sea levels are rising slowly but consistently. Extreme weather events are becoming more frequent. Ecosystems are becoming more fragile. The world is changing centimetre by centimetre, often without people noticing.